This is my 2011 Range Rover Vogue 4.4 TDV8 that I purchased during the height of lockdown in December 2020. And aside from a few age-related niggles,
Dog, you vicious bastard!
It's been the perfect, comfortable daily driver. Although the L322 is about as close as it gets to daily driver perfection, there's always room for a few little improvements.
Welcome back to another episode of Sounds Motor Machine, and in this episode we're going to be looking at another load of cheap upgrades that I've found for us to fit to our Range Rover L322s and try them out and see if they're any good. Now this is about the third episode I've done in this series where I'm finding cheap items like this from places online like AliExpress and eBay and trying them out and seeing if they're actually worth your time and effort fitting them to your vehicles. So our first upgrade for today is going to be contained in this tiny little box here, very cute, and it's going to be replacing some of the very few remaining non-LED bulbs in the Range Rover, which are these number plate lights up here. This should be a really quick fit. So this should be as simple as taking your screwdriver in the little slot, poke it out and the lens comes out like that. And then we can probably use the screwdriver again just to poke the, gently poke the bulb out. Little festoon bulb, I think these are called. Oh, it's gone. That's what we're taking out. So then what we're replacing it with are these complete LED panels. Now interestingly, these actually state on them you've got to be careful to fit the right one to the right side. So there's a left and a right LED panel, and I think that's because of the offset of the terminals here that need to match up with the contacts where the festoon bulb went basically. So yeah, this is the right hand side one. The light units themselves actually look pretty nice, just basically a replica of the original lens on the outside, slightly different, and a nice foam seal here to keep it hopefully a bit dry inside. So yeah, we'll see how they go on. So that should just go in like that. I know that one of these bulbs was actually broken anyway on my car, so it'd be good to get, and there we go, yeah, that one's definitely broken. As soon as I took that one out, the end cap just came off. And they fit really nicely actually. Right, they look pretty good, just have to see if they work now. Oh yes, they look good. Nice and white and not too crazy bright actually, so I think that'll be quite a nice subtle effect on the number plate, and it won't be lighting up the entire floor like a lot of aftermarket LED light number plate lights seem to do. So yeah, nice little upgrade. I've just checked on my AliExpress app, these were €13.48 delivered to my door. Not bad. So as a little bit of an update, these LED boot lights that we fitted I think in the first episode of cheap upgrades are still working perfectly, so as you guys can see. They've been really good throughout the winter, dark nights, unloading, loading in dark winter's evenings, absolutely brilliant, highly recommended. So the next upgrade for the Range Rover is something I've actually already upgraded once before. A while back on the channel I did a live stream where I upgraded the original rear reverse lights with 50/50 SMD LED panels. These actually worked out really well, and although one of them has actually gone a little bit dodgy since then, I think there's probably a loose connection inside somewhere where I did a bit of dodgy soldering, they actually worked really well, and they're surprisingly bright. In fact, they're so bright that the additional reverse lights that I added up here prior to doing this are actually not really needed anymore. These are more than adequate for most people's reversing light needs. However, if you guys don't feel like chopping your own reverse lights to bits and soldering in LED panels, there is an off-the-shelf kit available here to replace the light units with LED ones. So I want to try them out. They're probably not going to be as bright as these, but they might be a bit easy for you guys if you just want something you can easily slap in yourselves. So let's give them a go. As you guys know, by trade I'm a mechanical engineer, and partly because of that I appreciate stuff that's been made nicely. Nice materials and nice manufacturing quality, and I think that's one of the reasons that I love the Range Rover L322's interior so much. And because of that deep-seated love of nicely made things, I'm really happy to announce that this episode is sponsored by Ridge. Now Ridge, if you don't know, is a minimalist front pocket wallet that's made using really high quality materials like carbon fibre, titanium and aerospace grade aluminium. The American marketing guff here says aluminum, but as I'm British I'll use the proper term, aluminium. Now the one I've got here, which is my absolute favourite, is the forged carbon fibre one. Now forged carbon fibre is actually an amazing material. It's actually stronger than the normal kind of woven carbon fibre because all of the fibres inside the material have more variation. Now because of these high quality materials and manufacturing processes, Ridge offer a lifetime guarantee on this thing, and also they'll give you a 99-day money back guarantee. So if you don't like it in the first 99 days, just send it back. Now this holds up to 12 cards, as you guys can see in there, and it also has space for cash on the back as well. And it's really easy to use. You just pop out your cards, split them apart like that and take out what you need, and then you can just pop it all back together again. This also even has a slot in there for your coins as well, so you can keep some change in there as well as all the cards that you need. Now this is what I used to carry around in my jeans before I got the Ridge wallet here. As you guys can see, pretty chunky. I would actually have to take this out of my jeans every time I sat down at a table for dinner or whatever. Now I've also got the matching key case by the Ridge in the same forged carbon material as the wallet. Absolutely awesome. This thing holds up to 5 or 6 keys, and you flip them out, it's spring loaded. You can access the ones that you want and then flip them away. And my keys have gone from something similar to this to basically this really nice, streamlined, awesome looking carbon fibre loveliness. So don't forget to head over to ridge.com/Sam's Motors to get the 10th anniversary deal on these things. I don't think you'll look back once you've slimlined your setup to something like this.
And right now you can save up to 40% until March the 26th.
And so with that said, let's get back to the cheap upgrades. So these are a really easy light unit to remove. One screw in the top and it pops out like that. So that's the Sam's Motor Machine modified version. And this is the replacement. So basically this is just a complete replacement unit with 3 big, I guess these are like 1 watt or 0.75 watt LED diodes in there. So yeah, let's give it a fit up and see how it looks. It's definitely very shiny. Once you're happy with the seal on there, just pop it in place. Get the wiring connected, which is a bit awkward on this because it is rather short, the loom in the car. So push in at the bottom. Get your screw. And there we go. What do you guys reckon? What do you guys reckon? Too much? These lenses are a little bit kind of shiny and they're very clear. They're just obviously clear acrylic as opposed to the kind of clouded one that's originally there. And I'm not entirely sure how I feel about these 3 groups of circles on the back of each one, but we'll see how we get on with them. I wasn't entirely sure about those LED indicator repeaters we put on it originally in a couple of videos back, but now I actually really like them. So, you know, it just shows you how things grow on you over time. I suppose we better check if they work. Yeah, it seems to be working. Pretty bright as well. I imagine these will be brighter than the original terrible reverse lights, but they're probably not going to be as bright as my 50/50 LED panels. They'll be somewhere in between, but yeah, we'll check them out later in the dark. But yeah, for now, I'd say it looks fairly cool. So this next one is less of an upgrade, more of a little mini repair. Basically one of the only few electrical things that don't work on the Range Rover, haven't worked since I've had it, has been this electric heated mirror on this side. The right side heats up fine, clears off any moisture and frost, whatever you've got on there. This side doesn't do anything. And I've got an error code on IRD tool that comes up for this as well. So I'm assuming it's the panel itself that's failed. So we're going to change that over. I'll show you guys how I'm going to do it. So I've never actually done this before on this specific car, but I'm led to believe you can basically just get a plastic prying tool here and prise up gently under the bottom of the mirror. And it should pop out like that. And then just come away basically like that. And we can see it's pretty dusty in there for a start. Basically just have these two contacts connecting to the element in the mirror. All we're going to do is just pull them off, give them a wiggle and a pull. And then we can take our original glass out of the way. So before we fit our new glass here, which as you guys can see is slightly different to the original Land Rover one, we can take our multimeter and just check to see if this one has indeed failed by using resistance checks. So we can take our multimeter, set that to ohms / resistance, and on our new one, put the meter there so you guys can see it. We take a reading across the probes here, we get about 9.8 ohms, so say 10 ohms. So at 12 volts, that's basically going to give you about 1.2 amps of power going through this. So 1.2 amps at around 12 volts is, say, 20 watts. So about 20 watts of power going into this, which is quite a good bit of heat, and it will definitely defrost it very easily and very quickly. So now on the old guy, if we measured that, we're getting 241 ohms. So as you guys can see, that would obviously be a lot less amperage going through this and a lot less power, so basically no heat going into the wing mirror at all. So that's why that one wasn't working. Like that. There we go. That should be a nice working heated mirror glass now. So the next upgrade's around the front of the Range Rover, and we're actually going to be replacing some headlight bulbs we've already replaced once before. So very early on, when I first got the Range Rover, one of the first jobs I did was replace the Xenon D3S bulbs in the dipped side. Well, it's actually a dipped and main, it's a bi-Xenon system, but never mind, that's not the point. But I basically replaced those original bulbs with some cheap ones off Amazon that I was really happy with at the time. But I feel like after 2 years they may have dipped, they've faded a little bit, and that's kind of in line with most Xenon headlight bulbs. After 2 or 3 years they tend to have faded quite a bit from their original brightness. So what I've got here is a pair of Osram Classic Xenarc bulbs, which would have been the original fitment for these headlights when the car was new. I got these actually off of AliExpress as well. I guess they're kind of a grey market import, but they are genuine Osram, which I verified by scanning the QR codes on these bulbs on Osram's website, and they are in fact genuine, but they're probably around half the cost of what you might pay on Amazon or anywhere in the UK, like in houses like that. So definitely worth ordering from China if you can. And then as well as that, we've also got these Bevensey V55 H7 LED headlight replacements for the main beam here. So originally, obviously, we had halogen bulbs in there, then I replaced them about a year ago with the Bevensey V45s, which have been fantastic, really been pleased with those. But Bevensey have now come out with the V55, which is the very latest in their super bright LED replacement headlight series. So we're going to throw these guys in and we'll compare them to the H7s, V45s, and see if they've managed to improve it even more again. Now, to try and make a bit of an objective test for you guys, I actually went out and ordered myself a lux meter as well. So we've also got a way of objectively measuring the brightness of the headlight bulbs, so I can actually give you guys some figures as opposed to just saying, oh, that looks bright. Now this is a very cheap tool as well, so I'm not expecting it to be completely accurate, but hopefully it will at least give us a comparison between the left and right sides once I've changed these over. So I'll fit these bulbs up now on one side, I'll do it on the right side for the new stuff, and then we will give it a bit of a comparison this evening later on when the sun goes down. So yeah, let's make a start. So as I've shown you guys before, changing the bulbs in these cars is pretty easy. We've got a big plastic cap on this side which we take off, so all you could do is give that a bit of a turn anti-clockwise and it'll come out. Let's have a look at that bulb. So actually it's looking a little bit crispy, if I'm honest. So kind of a little bit hard to see, but the light emanating bit, which is that kind of bubble right in the middle of the bulb there, is a little bit kind of burned and crispy looking. So these have been in for 2 years and they've had quite you know, good bit of use. They're on most days that I'm driving the Range Rover. So, and I think that is fairly in line with what most xenon bulbs are supposed to last 2 or 3 years if you're lucky. I mean, they haven't failed, they're still working and they're still, you know, adequately bright, but they've definitely dropped off a little bit, and that is probably why. So there's our brand new Xenarc on the right there compared to the old Wattstar on the left. You can see the crystal clear glass on the right compared to the kind of cloudy, slightly burned look of the Wattstar on the left. But as I say, 2 years, not too bad, it's done pretty good. So you can see a bit of a difference in light temperature there already. The Osram looking a little bit whiter. The one on the right, the Wattstar, looking a little bit bluer. But it'll be interesting to see how that looks when we put it up against the wall later on. Right, so for the H7, same thing again, cap off, a bit tight. Who did that up? Crikey, that was tight. Now what quite happened there? So V45 on the right, V55 on the left, and you can basically see it's a similar design. The V55's just got an even bigger cooler, bigger fan. I'm guessing it's more powerful, which is going to be incredible. So yeah, just small improvements year on year, but hopefully we'll see a nice improvement in terms of brightness output, and maybe it will stay brighter for longer, having a better cooler than the V45, because what you can see with big powerful LEDs like this is when they get really hot, they basically slowly lose brightness. You might lose 20%, 30% of your brightness as compared when the LED is completely cold. So yeah, let's chuck it on and we'll have a look later this evening. Hopefully you guys can see there through the front of the headlight, you basically want the LED to be vertical, so you've got your light emanating, the actual LED parts of it facing sideways, which you can see there. So you basically just twist it round until it's oriented the correct way. So as you guys can see, we've kind of got like a good beam pattern here. You can see where the right headlight's kicking up there, and you've also got the same pattern from the left headlight just there. So I think what I'm going to try and do is kind of just take an average of the readings along here. I'll shout out the readings as I'm getting them, and we'll put them up on the screen for you guys to read. So right over here we're getting about 375 lux, up to about 550 lux just there, and then at the cut-off point of the beam just there, we've got about 800 lux, 785 just there. And then on the other headlight, versus the same point on this headlight, the left hand, which is the old bit bulbs, is only around 480. So again, not like completely scientific results, but I think that definitely shows the right hand headlight is stronger, and hopefully that comes across on the camera as well. So main beam now, and I've disabled my Osram light bar on the front there. Now we're getting 300 times 10, so that's 3000 lux right there, and it's absolutely excruciating to look back at the Range Rover. So on this side, which is the original Bevonsey V45 headlight, 2000 lux just there, and around 1200 here. I have to say, from looking at it from camera's point of view, it seems pretty even left to right. There's probably not a huge difference, but...
And at night time, the rear LED number plates look absolutely great. They're bright, but not too bright, and I think they give a really nice clean appearance back here. Similarly, with the reverse lights, they're bright, certainly brighter than the pathetic standard lights, but not amazingly so. They could do with being a little bit brighter, but they are a pretty nice improvement considering they're just a bolt-on upgrade.
So yeah, definitely an improvement, these reverse lights, but I would still say the reverse camera's pretty hard to use in this kind of light. It's not impossible, it's definitely better than it was. So this is what I'm doing in the middle of winter, coming back into the driveway like this, and I can just about see the posts on the reverse camera, which is good, but like, yeah, I would still prefer a little bit more light if I could. So just heading down the road a bit to check out these new dip beams, and obviously we'll try our main beams in a minute, but first impressions, these brand new Osrams are definitely a big improvement over the 2-year-old cheapies that I had, the Watt Stars, from about 2 years ago. They're definitely, as you guys will be able to see on the screen, hopefully, they are way yellower than the Watt Stars, which are kind of like a very white light. And that's kind of just personal preference as to which one you prefer, but actually the yellowness of this light doesn't really bother me too much because of the fact that it's so much better illuminated. It's much brighter than the Watt Stars were. The Watt Stars had kind of faded to kind of like a bluey white colour, almost purple in some conditions. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with these. This is obviously the completely standard form that the dipped head beams would be in on an L322 of this age, and obviously that's pretty good. So, you know, it really does show you though how important it is to replace those HID bulbs, because they don't really blow like old halogen bulbs used to, but it shows you that over time they definitely dim, you know, so a couple of years you're probably getting a lot less light output than you would have done when you first fitted them. So yeah, good to know. So let's give the main beams a quick try, and yeah, only way to describe that is daylight, basically. So this is without the main spot bar on, so I've got an Osram light bar down the front as well, but this is just the full beams. So HID's flaps are up, they're on full beam, and also the H7 Bevins V55s are on, so that's pretty amazing. That will pretty much negate, in my opinion, any need for additional driving lights, like that Osram bar on the front. I could probably take that off now if I really wanted to. This is definitely adequate. Got a really good long throw and fantastic coverage, you know, widthways across the road, lighting up the banks really nicely. So yeah, happy days. These are really, really good. One thing now that you might notice is there's definitely a marked difference in light temperature when we go between the dip beams like this and the full beams like that, which the Bevins V55s are obviously like kind of a 6000K, very white light, whereas the dip beams are more of a 4300K, kind of a warm light. That might bother some people. I don't think it's going to bother me too much.
Overall, I'm really happy with these upgrades, and I think we can all finally agree that the lighting on the Range Rover is finished at last.